This video is intended to describe a transmutation stationary mount device, or a salt lamp candle crown, or a diadem that is designed to live its life on top of a Himalayan salt candle to take the excess purification this produces and run it through this entire crystalline ignition sequence. With many variables involved in this whole dissertation, I'll start off with a few key points as just a familiarization before I continue forward. For example, this will be my whimsical stick figure chakra map that'll be joining me on this tour for visual cue reference illustration guide, as well as the light blade wands seen here play a very critical role for the illustration of this entire concept of the intentional design, as well as this alligator clip grounded to this primary wire seen right here of this device, going into the house ground right there to ground it to the house. So that's kind of an overview. Now I'll get into the details of this entire composition. So starting off with this primary power pack seen right here, this would be the main heart of the device, for it is of course a circular construct with many primary wire with alligator clip for the distinct purpose I'll get into momentarily. And this primary power pack, starting off with the wooden core, actually is Sedona juniper, from my favorite vortice in all of Sedona, as the center of this entire wood range of this core, with selenite seen right here to work as a purification, amplification, and acceleration of this entire overture of this energy in a perpetual circular circuit. In that regard, so I'll go ahead and discuss the black kyanite as well, seen right here. So black kyanite is a very rapid bridger of energy, very rapid transfers into the Earth stars, into the Earth Marine matrix for reprocessing, making a very rapid energetic dialysis process, basically. And the transmutation ratio seen right here of exotic format is oftentimes based on the hematite and smoky quartz traditionally, but this has a little exotic variation for the blade band sequence. But I'll stay on target with this primary power pack, with the main heart of the entire construct being a lovely clear Lemurian quartz, with a nice little hematite as a strong homage of the grounding of the overture of the energy. And the primary blade band of this power pack would be consisting of hematite and smoky quartz. Hematite and smoky quartz are the transmutation ratio I traditionally utilize quite frequently, and this rendition actually has black onyx in there as well. So I'll discuss the transmutation ratio as a quick little preface of the smoky quartz being a fantastic grounder of all energy into the earth for reprocessing, as well as hematite being a fantastic iron-based mineral to ground all the excess energy through the root chakra into the earth stars, into the earth for reprocessing. That will be mentioned at least thrice more times because of the critical focus of this dissertation. Then the onyx right here also makes a very fantastic consolidation of energy through the auric field to focus the energy. A very fun fact actually in the legend of the Ark reactor, Ark of the Covenant, Aaron's breastplate actually had black onyx mounted on his shoulders for both sides. Very fun fact. And that could be conduced, or basically deduced, to being a condenser of energy for an apparatus designed to wield a arc reactor frequency broadcast. That's a whole rabbit hole which I will negate, but it's a fun fact. So, the primary ignition sequence, seen right here, of course I mentioned the hematite, smoky quartz, and the onyx make for a very grounding primary focus of this apparatus, and how that's very beneficial for the rest of the constructs, seen right here in its relevancy, is that this construct is going into the custody of a wielder of a vast arsenal of light tech seen like this. So obviously as illustration purposes, this would be a red ray prominent focus emanation, while this would be one of the abundance platforms of heavy green ray concentration, as well as a blue ray, for example, and a nice beneficent sunny energy of dawnbreaker seen right here shows somewhat of a diversification of different platforms, generating vibrational compound interest with the home tree, if you would, or the mainframe to ground in to, of course, have an aspect of purification and amplification and grounding into the house ground right here. So I'll stay on target and discuss those finer points later, but I'll discuss the primary blade bands seen right here on this apparatus. So the aspect of this right here as well, they are as identical as I possibly could make them in sequence like so, except on a brass and a silver polarity, which of course brass could be a yang projective polarity, while the silver could be a strong intake. So it's the same exact ignition sequence on the intake and output simultaneously for perpetual recirculation of energy. At least that's the energetic design. And go ahead and get closer to illustrate these fine points. So like I mentioned, hematite being strong grounded of energy. Then in this incorporation, this one actually has clear quartz as one of the subcapacitators to be a neutral amplifier of the energy running its circuit. Going into black tourmaline, a very fantastic grounder of energy, just like smoke quartz and hematite, and a very quite in vogue in this timeline for turning negativity into positivity by, of course, engaging the Earth star meridian matrix for consistent dialysis reprocessing. And so on. As well as smoky quartz to once again provide the grounding aspect as well. So this would basically, of course, be a more exotic variety of the transmutation ratio in the sequence seen right here, making a circle. And thank goodness the candle that the recipient will receive will not be as big as this guy. It was a close one I had by for the dissertation. So this actually would fit a lot better in her custody. The crown, for example, would fit much better, as well as like the blades, light blade wands, would also have more of a flush sit-down situation instead of being hanging like fruit. So anyhow, like I mentioned, that'd be the transmutation sequence seen right here. And so one of the aspects also that's truly advantageous of Himalayan salt lamps being quite in vogue in this timeline for being notarized to purify rooms of negative energy, for example, air purification, etc., etc. But then taking the negative ion generation this produces from, most importantly, an incandescent light bulb that actually generates heat to heat up the salt to make a purification emanation, would, of course, in theory, perpetually clear and charge this entire circuitry seen right here. And then most importantly, actually take the clip and ground it into the house ground seen right there, which this ground down there, of course, would actually ground to all other outlets of any space right there, because all these outlets run on a primary ground which goes to a grounding rod somewhere in the premises if of course, the building is up to code, which God willing it is, which is, of course, like part of basic electrical engineering in this timeline. We find ourselves with electricity right there. So it's basically, of course, connecting all of these outlets together with this purification charge point to ground this entire energy circuit through the pre-existing mainframe we usually always live in when it comes to living in a house, which in theory would, of course, contain the circuit, most importantly, ground it into Earth for tangibility range, as well as generate a energy structure, containment field, energy shield, if you would, that has, in theory, quite beneficial ramifications in concept. So, that would be like the aspect right there that's quite important of this transmutation ratio. And like I mentioned, the arsenal of the recipient is quite vast with different frequency pitch ranges, so they could take all these other exotic emanations of red ray concentration, for example, as well as green and blue, and ground them all together to run through a purification amplification mainframe, if you would. That, of course, will ground into the house for perpetual grounded momentum, which is quite advantageous for the recipient's vast arsenal to have a consistent purification, amplification, and grounding, and also consolidation of energy into form, which would be very, very helpful for a daily life situation energy upgrade, if you would. And I believe that would basically sum up the entire aspect of this concept pretty succinctly in almost under 10 minutes, to my surprise. And yes, I guess that would be it. So as a summary, purification, amplification through the entire house, grounded, most importantly, to make a lovely containment field, as well as a charging point. So this could also serve to, of course, energetically amplify and charge and purify these various devices, as well as keep them grounded simultaneously. a tremendous win-win-win all around. And I guess that would be it. All right. Well, 1,000 blessings, and I pray anyone watching this has a great day.